The rain began as a whisper and turned into a reckoning, the kind that soaks through clothes and bones alike, the kind that arrives when life already feels heavy enough to bend a man's spine. Ethan Walker stood by the shoulder of the road with his aging pickup coughing behind him, his hands numb from a day of labor that never quite paid what it promised, and his thoughts fixed on the small apartment where his daughter waited with homework spread across the kitchen table. He did not know that the next few minutes would test the last scraps of his faith in fairness, or that mercy offered without calculation would circle back to decide his future. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing what is right even when no one is watching, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments where you are watching from, because this story belongs to every corner of the world where compassion still survives. Ethan was a poor single dad not by choice but by consequence, widowed too early and left to raise 8-year-old Lily on a construction worker's wages that barely stretched to cover rent, groceries, and the occasional library book she loved to check out. His days were measured in calloused palms and long hours, his nights in packing lunches and folding tiny socks, his dreams in the soft rise and fall of his daughter's breathing as she slept. That evening, the storm had trapped him between shifts, his truck sputtering low on fuel, when he noticed a red car pulled over ahead, hazard lights blinking like a heartbeat in distress. A woman stood beside it, rain slicking her hair back, her posture tense with the helplessness of being alone in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ethan slowed without thinking. He knew the math of stopping, the cost of time and gas, the risk of trouble when you had so little to spare. But he also knew the look of someone stranded, the way the world suddenly feels larger and colder when a plan collapses. He pulled over, grabbed the worn jacket he kept behind the seat, and walked toward her as rain soaked him through. The woman's car had a flat tire, shredded by a pothole hidden beneath the water. She looked at him with a mixture of caution and relief that mirrored the way people looked at hope when it arrived unannounced. Ethan set to work with the quiet efficiency of a man used to fixing things because no one else would. He loosened lug nuts with aching hands, braced his shoulder against stubborn metal, and worked while the rain turned the roadside into mud. He said little, not because he was unfriendly, but because he had learned that listening was sometimes the most generous thing a person could do. The woman, whose name was Claire Bennett, watched him struggle, noticed the tremor in his arms and the frayed edges of his jacket, and felt a tug of guilt at accepting help she could not repay in that moment. When the tire was finally replaced, Ethan wiped his hands on his jeans and waved off the money she tried to press into his palm. He told her, gently and firmly, that it was enough to know she was safe. He mentioned his daughter waiting at home, the way parents do when love is the compass guiding every decision. Claire thanked him with eyes that shone brighter than the wet road, then drove away, leaving Ethan to return to his truck and the life that demanded more from him than it ever gave back. What Ethan did not know was that Claire Bennett was not merely a woman delayed by rain. She was a judge, newly appointed, respected for her fairness and feared for her rigor, and the following week she would preside over a case that held Ethan's fate in its careful balance. A workplace accident months earlier had left him injured and behind on payments. A missed court date due to Lily's sudden illness had turned into a warrant, and now a hearing loomed that could strip him of his job, his license, and the fragile stability he had built around his child. As the days passed, pressure mounted like a storm of its own. Ethan's employer warned him about absences, the landlord left notices taped to the door, and Lily asked questions he tried to answer with smiles that trembled at the edges. He gathered documents late into the night, his kitchen table cluttered with forms and medical bills, his heart thudding with the fear that one wrong word could unravel everything. He believed in taking responsibility, but the system felt like a maze designed to punish those already lost. The morning of the hearing arrived gray and unforgiving. Ethan wore his only suit, threadbare but clean, Lily's lucky ribbon tucked into his pocket. He sat in the courtroom feeling small beneath the weight of wood and authority, watching as cases moved with an efficiency that left little room for mercy. When his name was called, he stood, hands steady by force of will alone, and faced the bench. Judge Claire Bennett looked up, her eyes meeting his, and something like recognition flickered before she composed herself. In that instant, the rain-soaked roadside bridged the distance between them. She remembered the way he had knelt in the mud without complaint, the way he had refused money with a softness that spoke of values deeper than circumstance. She also remembered the child he mentioned, the urgency in his voice that night as he hurried home, the proceedings unfolded with facts laid bare, the missed date explained, the injury documented. Ethan took responsibility without excuse, his words plain and honest, his posture that of a man who knew the cost of mistakes but also the worth of effort. The room seemed to hold its breath. Justice, after all, is not blind to humanity, only to favoritism. When the judge spoke, her voice carried the authority of the law and the compassion of someone who understood the weight of kindness. She acknowledged the errors and the obligations, but she also recognized the context, the accident, the care of a child, the integrity shown when no reward was expected. She ruled with balance, imposing requirements that held Ethan accountable while preserving his ability to work and provide, setting a path forward instead of a wall. Relief washed over Ethan so suddenly it left him dizzy. He thanked the court with a nod, dignity intact, hope rekindled. Outside, the sky began to clear, sunlight breaking through clouds like a promise kept. He walked home lighter, his steps quickening as he imagined Lily's smile, the way she would listen wide-eyed as he explained that sometimes, doing the right thing really does matter. In the weeks that followed, life did not become easy, but it became possible. Ethan completed the requirements set before him, his employer extended support, and the landlord agreed to a plan. He volunteered at Lily's school when he could, teaching kids how to fix small things, passing on the lesson that hands can heal as much as they build. And sometimes, when rain pattered against the windows, he thought of the night kindness had crossed paths with consequence. Judge Bennett, for her part, carried the memory too. It reminded her why she had chosen the bench, why justice needed both a scale and a heart. She did not bend the law for Ethan, she applied it fully, with the understanding that mercy is not weakness but wisdom. In her chambers, she kept a note on her desk that read simply to remember the roadside, to remember the rain. Years later, Lily would tell the story as one of the reasons she believed in people. She would say her father taught her that you help because it is right, not because you expect a reward, and that sometimes the world answers kindness in ways you could never plan. If this story touched your heart, if it stirred something tender and hopeful inside you, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach those who need them most. And before the ending, please leave a comment telling us one small act of kindness that changed your life, because your words might become someone else's miracle. In the end, the rain was never just rain, and the road was never just a road. It was a crossing of lives where compassion quietly tipped the scales, reminding us that even when fate seems fixed, kindness still has the power to write a different ending.